Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Brawn Body Podcast. Today is Motivational Monday, as you know, and I'm very excited to be joined by Ryan Heim, who has not only a bachelor's degree, a little bit of a BS thing there, but he's also got a master's degree. He's got his ISSA powerlifting certifications, and he is very accomplished with powerlifting. He's competed in two USAPL amateur powerlifting meets, totaling 1,300 and 1,325. Now, keep that in mind that this guy is, very strong because he's about 20, 30 pounds lighter than I am. And he was actually someone who had an early influence on my own lifting when I was a little freshman Dan in college, 18 years old. He was kind of the big kid in the weight room, so to speak. So for more on Ryan, you can actually find him on Instagram at Heim Kinda Strong. And he does live up to the name, Kinda Strong. So with that, Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dan, thanks for having me.
Of course. So when we talk about Motivational Monday, we like to kind of talk about something that has kind of set you back in some way. So when it comes to powerlifting or just life and your journey in general through the different certifications, athletes you've worked with, has there been any major obstacles to your progress forward so far?
I think I think it kind of goes for most powerlifters that injuries are normally the biggest setbacks you're going to face. So I haven't competed since November last year. Um, Actually, I lie. It might have been November. Yeah, no, November last year. Um, had some injuries leading into it that I didn't think were as problematic as they were. Mainly in my lower back. Um, my first lift squat, I had a squat that I didn't hit, kind of dumped it forward, which is a no-no, but it happens. And it irritated that whatever was going on in my low back gave me problems the rest of the meet. And I've been doing PT since then. So I'm
Wow.
finally back to the point where it's starting to feel pretty good, but it's been a long road. My training's looked a lot different over the past year than it would normally. Hasn't really been, what would you say, powerlifting focused, I guess. It would be more of a, guess you could call it attempted maintenance while while I could work on my low back and get that feeling good and finally getting to the point where it's feeling good, but there's not a lot of powerlifting meets happening at this time anyway due to the pandemic situation.
Yeah, that definitely has put a damper on things, I can imagine. But yeah, it sounds like this has been a pretty nagging problem and it's kind of a long road through it. So you've obviously got something that keeps pushing you forward through all this. Is there any big motivating factors or influences for you lately?
Yeah, for me, I just love it. It's what I like to do. I like to be able to say that I can lift heavy things, whether or not other people decide to care about that. It keeps me going, and I just want to I want to be able to get back to it. So I do my due diligence on my physical therapy, and I'm feeling pretty good.
Well, I actually have a few physical therapists that listen to the podcast, and I know they're going to love hearing someone actually follow suit to what their PT says
Yeah.
and it has good results.
Yes,
So
that's for
that's
sure.
awesome. But no, you bring up a good point there. There's something about that feeling of doing things that other people can't or won't do. I think back to those early days in the Iron Dungeon at LVC, you were literally taking up all the plates to deadlift. Like there was no more bumper plates. There was, you were digging into the 45-pound iron plates, and people would be mad when you dropped the deadlift, or they'd be mad because they couldn't lift because you had all the plates. And it's like, in reality, are they mad because they can't lift, or are they mad because they can't lift as much as you? You're literally pushing yourself to do things that most people can't do and won't do, and they don't realize they could get really strong
Yes.
and could be doing that, but they have to put the time and effort in to get to that point. It doesn't just happen overnight.
Right. Yeah, it's a long road for sure. And I mean, like you said, I'd like to be able to say I can do things that other people can't. And I think that comes from, you know, being young. I wasn't very big. I wasn't a big guy. I'm still not that big of a guy. But played a lot of sports, and all the sports I played were like, they were physical sports. Like, you need to be more physical than whoever you're competing against. And there were times where there are definitely people bigger and stronger than me, and that bothered me. It's not like
Right.
and that's something you can do something about. I can't do anything about them being, they're bigger than me just genetically. There's nothing I can do about that. Can't change the hand you were given, but you can always make yourself stronger. Everyone
Right.
can make themselves stronger. So just kind of something that you fall into, and then I just loved it.
Yep. You had quite the was it wrestling and football career?
Yeah, so high school, I was all state for running back football, and played at LBC for a couple years, and gave that up just because I like powerlifting more.
Yeah, we'll
And
go with that.
wrestling, I was 100 win club. Nothing super crazy, not a state champ or anything like that, but decent.
Still very respectable considering all the circumstances. Like you said, you might not have been the biggest one there, but you weren't going to be outworked, that's for sure.
145 pounds my senior year.
145, geez. Wow. That's crazy because by the time I got here, I think you were probably 165, 170, deadlifting 495, squatting like 440, 450.
Yeah, something about like that.
And now you're probably pulling, what was it, like 600, I think was what you were at over the summer?
600 was my best.
That's crazy.
I hit a double for 585 is probably the one I'm more proud of, though.
Yeah, not just one, but two.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So obviously, like we're kind of pointing out here, nothing worth having comes easy. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of sacrifice. Are there any other big kind of takeaway messages you want people to take away from your own experiences and your own stories thus far?
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta be willing to put in time. I think there's many well-known strength athletes, especially Brian Shaw. He says this all the time. Strength is a marathon, not a sprint. It just takes a lot of time. Like it's just years and years of doing pretty much the same thing. And
Right.
for some people that's boring, but like if you want to be strong, if that's what you want, then that's the sacrifice you got to make, is maybe a little bit of excitement in your training.
Right. Trust the process, so to
Right.
speak. And, with that too, I'm sure it's not just patience in the gym and with the training, but also out of the gym, because I'm sure your grocery bill gets to be astronomical at times. And
Sometimes.
got to pick up another job to cover the cost of all the chicken, right?
Yeah. Depends on if you're in a bulking session or or if it's time to cut down for the meat.
Well, you probably have no problem with that from your wrestling days, right? Just
Yeah, more experience than I would like with that.
few rounds of jumping jacks and 4 or 5 hoodies out by the wood stove will take care of that.
Yep. Wear the trash bag.
So awesome. Well, Ryan, thanks for joining us on this episode of Motivation Monday. And we're excited to welcome you back in a couple days for a further dive into powerlifting. So for those listening, stay tuned for another episode in a couple days. Ryan, we'll see you then.
See you then, Dan.